And good morning, UTRGV. Top of the hour here on All In with Ali. This is your host, Ali, live from the Edinburgh studio. 11:05, it's 88 degrees and sunny. Great day to talk some sports. Starting with last night, Woj bomb from Adrian Wojnarowski, who last night announced his retirement. I mean, what an incredible career he's had. One of the best, probably if not the best NBA insider we've seen in a while. Many of us remember where we were when we got a tweet from Woj saying ex-player got traded here, and he's been in the background of several of the biggest moves made in the NBA in recent years. He's a titan of the industry. He'll be missed, and great luck after your career. He can finally put his phone down and rest. Let's talk some college football last week. First off, Texas rolling hot after steamrolling UTSA on Saturday. And right now, as of the latest Associated Press poll, they are ranked 1. That's right, Texas is ranked 1. Is the hype real, or are the wheels bound to fall off? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Longhorns. They're playing some pretty good football as of late. Taking down the champion in Michigan wasn't easy, and then going in, taking down a team quite handily, too, as a matter of fact, a team that you're expected to beat in UTSA, and great ups to the Longhorns there. They've had an incredible season to this point, and they're one of the teams I'm looking out on for that college playoff picture, and who knows if they could be title contenders or not. I'm really hoping that's the case. Texas A&M defeating Florida last week as well. Florida has not looked good at all, neither has FSU, but more on that. The Aggies look solid. I mean, they simply outplayed the Florida defense all night. It wasn't really a question of who was going to win that game. The Aggies had the momentum there. Next week, matchups to look up for next week. Tennessee and Oklahoma. SEC right there. I think that's going to be a great game, and also Nebraska, Illinois are 2 games I'm watching out for. And then Florida versus FSU in this week's CFB Toilet Bowl. 2 of the worst teams in college football this year are facing off against each other, both in desperate need of a win, and both have been playing some incredibly sloppy football, as we've seen. Stick around, we'll be talking baseball, first match day of the Champions League, and previews for week 3, and let's talk some of the games in week 2. More coming up after these messages. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Just to clarify, the Florida FSU game isn't taking place until November 30th. Apologies if I didn't mention that in the last segment, but stay tuned for that because both programs are right now in desperate need of a win. Who knows, their situation might change between now and then, but we'll have to see. Anyway, to all our listeners, it's that time of the year again in baseball where we're counting down who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. Starting in the National League, first team to clinch not just a playoff spot, but their division as a whole, that would be the Milwaukee Brewers, just like all of us had on our bingo card at the start of the year, having the Brewers be the first team to clinch a spot. Well, but they've been playing good all year. Just some injuries might come back to haunt them, but who knows? Don't count the Brew Crew out. In the wild card picture, Padres with a series win over Houston. They pad their lead. Right now, though, the biggest story would be the Braves and the Cubs are chasing the Mets for that final spot in the NL playoff picture. We're going to see some great baseball next week, actually. We're going to see the Mets and the Braves play each other in a three-game weekday set. Right now, especially in the NL East, the Phillies are looking like they're going to run away with that division, but the Braves and the Mets have played good as of late, and they're chasing down that final spot. Magic number to keep an eye on for both teams is the number 9. And for those listeners who don't know what a magic number is, that would magic number would be the combination of wins by your team and losses by the team that's after you that it would take to clinch a playoff spot. Right now, the Mets' magic number is 9, while the Braves' tragic number is 9, meaning it would take 9 losses by the Braves or 9 wins by the Mets to knock Atlanta out of the playoffs and secure a spot for New York. So that's going to be some incredible baseball to keep an eye on, especially as the calendar winds down. Next week is the final week of the MLB regular season. A lot to play for, a lot on the line. Right now, as it looks like for the 3 playoff spots, the Padres have a 2.5 game lead over the Diamondbacks, and then after the Diamondbacks, they are tied with the Mets, who the Braves are also not far behind. So that is the most exciting race right now in baseball would be for those final spots in the National League. Dodgers' magic number is 2. That's right, their magic number is 2, which means they could clinch they could clinch a playoff spot with a win tonight and with a loss by either by either the Padres or the D-backs. And that's what it would take to get LA back into the playoffs. Turning it over now to the American League. First team to clinch a playoff spot in the American League would be the New York Yankees. Yankees haven't clinched the division yet because Baltimore is still more or less after them, but right now, the Yankees are in. We're going to be seeing them again after they missed the playoffs last year. We're going to be seeing the Yanks back in October. Their offense is pretty good. Their pitching's been solid, and they're a team certainly that nobody wants to face. Them and Houston I'm sure nobody wants to turn over their schedule in the playoffs and see either of those teams on the ledger. In the American League Central right now, the Tigers, hottest team in baseball, now they only sit half a game. They only sit half a game away from a playoff spot right now. They've played incredible baseball as of late. Props to A.J. Hinch for turning the season around over there. Tariq Skubal looks like he's going to win the Cy Young in the American League. I mean, he's just nasty. He's an incredible pitcher, and his team's playing good, and right now, that division, the last 3 spots are similar sort of to the NL East, where right now Cleveland has a 6-game lead over the entire division, but the Royals and the Twins are tied for a spot. They're fighting, and then the Tigers are just sneaking right back into that picture. So right now, the AL Central is chaos. There's several teams fighting for limited spots. Right now, the team that's on the outside looking in the American League would be Seattle. They're 3 games behind the Tigers and 5 games behind the Astros right now. Astros could clinch as soon as this weekend. Their magic number is down to 6, and for Houston's situation, the number is 6, period. You have to win the division to make the playoffs if you're the Astros. That number is 6. It would take 6, combination of 6 losses by the Mariners or 6 wins by the Astros. And it's very likely they have a weekend series, 4-game set at home against the Los Angeles Angels. And that plus a combination of losses by the Mariners could see Houston clinching as soon as this weekend, but this is baseball. Anything can happen. It's not over till it's over. So, and Seattle very much still has something to play for, so you can't count them out of this just yet. So right now, if you're the Astros, you just have to lock down and play good baseball, control what you can control. Hope the Mariners lose, but that's out of your hands. All you can do is control what you can control, win the games that you play. Stick around, we're talking match day 1 of the UEFA Champions League in the next segment, plus a little drama to bring you from the Premier League. Coming up right after this. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Bottom half of the hour, let's talk match day 1. First game that I want to talk about from this match day was the Bayern match. And feels like they do this almost every year with Bayern Munich. one game that they have, whether it's in the group stage or in the eliminatory phase, where they absolutely blow out a team. Remember one year it was Barca against Barca 8-2. This year they finished with a 9-2 scoreline. So I don't buy into Bayern Munich going far this Champions League, but they have one of these games where it's like, oh, they look so good. Look at that final scoreline, 9-2. Man, they can score, and they can score a lot, which it was true in that instance, but they haven't really shown the consistency over the years to do so. Next match I want to talk about is AC Milan against Liverpool at the San Siro. Pulisic scored the lone goal for Milan, but that wasn't the story, as Liverpool came out with the win 3-1 in that match. They're just doing what they do usually. They look pretty good to start under Arne Slot, their new manager, and yeah, they've been doing some good things. They've been moving the ball pretty well, and we'll see. We'll see. Because this is match day 1. There's still 7 other matches to play in this new group stage. It's a brand new format. It's a lot of new things for the players, for managers to deal with, and it's especially most important thing. It's a lot more games this Champions League than compared to last year. Next 3-1 scoreline I want to talk about was Madrid versus Stuttgart. And Madrid just picking up where they leave off in the Champions League. I mean, every year they always look good in the Champions League, even if they don't do so well in La Liga. You can always count on them in the Champions League, and once again picking up right where they left off, conceding to tie the game in the second half, and then going on to score two goals in that match. Endrick scored his first Champions League goal too, and Mbappe scored his first in the Champions League in his new uniform. So it looks like he's starting to settle in to the rhythm of things over there. Still more matches to come ahead for you today in the Champions League. Starting in about 10 minutes is Feyenoord against Bayer Leverkusen, who last year Leverkusen was the story of the footballing world. I mean, they almost went undefeated and won the Europa League, and I think they're going to do some great things here in the Champions League. They looked pretty good last year. I really hope they carry that momentum into this year. Atalanta versus Arsenal today, another match to keep an eye on. Monaco versus Barca, it's another big match to start Barcelona's Champions League campaign. Atleti versus RB Leipzig is also another one today. So a lot of great UCL action to talk to you about, which unfortunate that those games are today because I would have loved to delve deeper into it. But for more on those, you'll have to tune in next week. Some drama from the Premier League I'd like to talk about. The 115 charges that Man City is facing, that trial started this week. And that whole situation with Man City has been hanging over soccer and over the Premier League specifically ever since it was announced that City was getting charged with that. And consequences include they could get relegated to the Championship, which hard to see that happening because, the Premier League is going to bail out City. But, we'll have to wait and see on that front. Next segment, we'll talk NFL, recap Week 2, and looking ahead to Week 3, plus much more on All In with Ali. Now this message from Dr. Bailey. And welcome back to All In with Ali. Bottom of the hour here from our Edinburgh studio. And let's talk some NFL. Let's talk Week 2. First and foremost, we got to start by talking about what happened on Thursday night with Tua Tagovailoa going down with another concussion. I mean, that was just incredibly tough to witness live. And at this point, Tua has to contemplate retiring because it happened twice in 2022 where he went down with what we thought was a concussion. They let him play the next week. And next week, he actually has to get carted off the field with a concussion. And then he plays the next season completely healthy, but now coming back and dealing with these issues. In the time that Tua's off for concussion protocol, I think that's a conversation that's bound to happen because player safety has to come first in this instance. And I believe whatever decision that Tua comes to at the end of the day, it will be the right one because at this point he's already got a contract. He doesn't have to play another down of football again, and if he retires for reasons related to this injury, then I completely understand, and we wish him nothing but the best, man. Next, I want to talk about the Saints-Cowboys game, and oh my God, how about them Cowboys, huh? That was a massacre to witness in your home opener against a team that you're expected to beat. First of all, the Saints played an incredible game on offense. I mean, just the change in their offensive coordinator now under the system of pretty much the same weapons as last year under a new system led by Clint Kubiak. The Saints have looked incredibly good. They've played some good football, but what was that performance by the Dallas defense? I mean, they could not stop anything. The Saints have scored on all of their drives this year, and that continued against what we thought was a very formidable Dallas defense, but evidently not. And just the way that being on America's Game of the Week last week and being on that this week on Fox was just absolutely embarrassing if you're the Dallas Cowboys, and they didn't do a lot to address their issues this offseason, and we don't know, things might turn around in Dallas again, but it's tough. It's tough if you're a Cowboys fan witnessing this, and I don't know, what's it? Next game that I wanted to talk about, Bears-Texans last week. Sunday Night Football. Texans have not been on primetime in almost 4 years now, and now with a completely revamped new team, they go out, and that defense, but first of all, I don't know if it was the Bears' O-line being that bad or if it was the Texans' defense. I think it was both. The Chicago O-line did not play particularly well, and I don't think Caleb Williams is really going to develop. I saw some positive things trending in the right direction for Williams, but if you're Caleb Williams, you can't be trying to run on every play like it's the Pac-12. It's not like that, and I think Caleb Williams had his welcome to the NFL moment, because what a show put on by the Texans defense. I mean, in total, Caleb Williams got sacked 7 times. He was taking hit after hit after hit by all sorts of people on the Texans defense. They were playing hard. As soon as even if Caleb Williams managed to get the ball out, there's someone right there. I mean, Jalen Petrie had an incredible game. Will Anderson balled out. Danielle Hunter, what an addition that he's been to that Texans defense. Incredible stuff we saw from him. Al-Shaair had a few big hits. Kamari Lassiter playing in his first start, he played incredibly well, had an interception. Derek Stingley had an interception. And I think this Texans defense is legit. Stroud didn't play his best game, but he played well enough, and I think there were several chances the Texans had to put that game away. I think they understand that. DeMeco Ryans knows it. C.J. Stroud knows it. And it's just a matter of cleaning up those mistakes, but it's a lot easier to do that when you're winning, so they're going to have to carry that momentum against a tough Vikings team. And last choke job of the week of week 2 that I wanted to talk about was the Falcons-Eagles. I mean, what was that from the Eagles defense? I mean, Nick Sirianni, man, come on. On the last drive of the game, they did absolutely nothing on defense. Kirk Cousins just was doing what he wanted to do with that Falcons offense down the field. I can understand why they got him, and it's probably for the best, especially because they know they have Michael Penix on their bench, rookie quarterback. But I'm guessing what the Falcons are thinking was having him develop behind Kirk Cousins for a couple of years and then taking on that role once Kirk Cousins leaves. And Kirk Cousins is a veteran. He knows what he's doing, and that's what we just saw right there. A veteran who's been in this league for a while, who's been in those situations, who knows what to do. That plus the Eagles going back to their form last year. I mean, starting 12-0 and then collapsing completely was how the Eagles ended their season last year, and they've been off to more of the same to start this year. Couple of matchups I would like to watch. I would pay attention to for Week 3: Lions versus Cardinals. Cardinals coming off a high-flying victory. Kyler Murray looked incredible. It was the Marvin Harrison show in the first quarter, the first half of that game. I mean, absolutely incredible, making contested catches, being on the same page with Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray was playing pretty good too. So after flexing their muscles against the Rams, I think a Detroit Lions team that knows what it's doing, that is also looking for a win, I think we're going to see some great football there. Ravens, Cowboys, both teams coming off embarrassing losses in Week 2 and both teams looking to prove themselves. I think we're going to see some great football there. So we know the Ravens can run the ball really well. We know Dak is pretty good at quarterback, and we know these two defenses can play. So keep an eye out on that game. Texans, Vikings, another one. Another matchup to keep your eye on. The Vikings have looked pretty good starting 2-0. The Texans have looked incredible starting 2-0. And it's going to be a tough match right there. And then, last but not least, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs, Falcons. Falcons coming off that victory on Monday night. Chiefs starting the year 2-0. And it's just going to be some good football in that match. Now, next segment, let's get to the dishonorable mentions of the week. Starting with the Chicago White Sox. Man, has it been a tough season for them, and I think that might be underselling it a bit. The White Sox have not looked good, and the fact that they're going to not only retain most of their roster, that right now this team at 36 and 117 is set to break the record for most losses in the modern era by an MLB team since the expansion era New York Mets. And I mean, it's just everything that's gone wrong for the White Sox has gone wrong. Next dishonorable mention of the week, Carolina Panthers on 0-17 watch this year. Could be the first team we see go 0-17. Last time we seen a team go without a win was the Cleveland Browns going 0-16, and previously the Detroit Lions went also 0-16, but I don't think anyone's gone 0-17. Carolina Panthers probably gunning for that first-round pick once again. They just benched Bryce Young, which I don't know how much that's really going to change anything on that front. I don't think Bryce Young was going to do so well behind that line that's been an absolute turnstile all year, and it was the same way last year. It was going to be a tough situation going in, and getting benched, that's gotta hurt if you're Bryce Young. All that expectations just to be benched for Andy Dalton. We're hoping things get better because we've seen flashes from Bryce Young, but we haven't really seen him put it together. And if the Panthers don't build a good team around Young soon, then the Panthers might have to do something about that. Last and certainly least on our dishonorable mentions of the week, Florida State University. They losing to Memphis last week. Not only did they lose a close match to Memphis, but get this, FSU paid Memphis $1.3 million to play that game against them. And just to pay and lose on national TV, that was just absolutely not good if you're FSU. This team was competing for a playoff spot last year, didn't make it in, and now this year it looks like a complete unraveling job by Florida State. Next segment now, before the end of this week's show, we'll talk on this day in sports history. In the year 2000, on this day, Ken Griffey Jr. becomes the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to join the 400 home run club, and was the first to ever do it as a pinch hitting in the fourth inning in a game against the Colorado Rockies. 2004, Jerry Rice snapped the streak for most games with the reception at 274. As of today, he still holds the record for most games with a reception at 296. This is another streak started and ended by Jerry Rice. And in 2008, Thierry Henry scores his first ever goal for Barcelona late in his career in a Champions League game against Lyon, winning 3-0 in that match. Well, that's all we have for you this week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to All In with Ollie next week. Last week of the MLB regular season coming up. Stick around. Watch those. We're going to see some great baseball. We're going to have the preview for the MLB playoffs, as the regular season should be closed around then. Playoff preview for the MLB. Week 3 recap and Week 4 preview for the NFL. And more Champions League. We'll be seeing that next on All In with Ollie. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. This is Ollie, your host, saying so long from the Edinburgh studio. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, Vaqueros. See you next time.